Welcome to episode 23,911 of the RECRAP, where we're going to break down the Bears' fourth straight win. They won, what was the final score? 26-14 over the red-hot New Orleans Saints, who dropped to 1-6 on the season. How did they win one? Against the Bears, who are now 4-2, 2-1 in the NFC North. No longer in last place. They were in last place going into this with a winning record because the North, before the Vikings lost the Eagles today, every team was over 500. But now the Bears have a one-game lead over them. Vikings are actually tied at the moment with the Lions for second place. And then the Packers have that. They're just going to fuck up the standings for the whole year because they tied the Cowboys, which they really should have lost. We all know that. Didn't Jordan Love was trying to throw the ball away at the end of overtime because he'd actually taken too much time, but he hit a Dallas defensive back with the throw, which stopped the clock sooner than if it had not hit anything and gone, like had to wait for it to hit the wall. It's ridiculous. Anyway, the Bears are in second place. They've won 4 in a row. In those 4 wins in a row, they have won the turnover battle. And I know they're not quite as obsessive about it as when Lovey was there. They don't like to call them turnovers. They like to call them takeaways. But in those 4 games, the Bears have 15 turnovers forced to 2 that they've lost. 2. One of them was a rare Caleb interception. It was a 3rd and 17. And he was staring at Rome the whole way, which is not great. But also, I think it's one of those plays where the route is really supposed to be like 12 yards, but on 3rd and 17, guys like me are like, "Well, Joe, just throw the ball past the sticks." Everything takes a little longer, and it gave the defensive back that much more time to react. It was bad throw and a ill-timed play. But other than that, he didn't turn it over. He did not play great, but played well enough to win. And unlike his former Oklahoma Sooners teammate, the weird-looking Spencer Rattler, Caleb only turned the ball over once. Spencer turned it over 4 times. It should have been 5. He threw 3 interceptions. He fumbled, and he threw another interception to Kevin Byard that got knocked out of his hand by Nashon Wright. Nashon's only pass breakup in maybe ever. I kid. Nashon had a very nice interception that set up a score. If there was a frustration in the game, it was that the Bears should have scored 40 points and just put this thing away. They only scored 1 touchdown off of a takeaway. But they ran the ball like nobody's business. They ran for 222 yards a week after they ran for 145 against the Commanders. So speaking of Lovey, you've got to be excited that the boys are getting off the bus running. Before we get too much farther into this, though, we do have to got to pay the bills. Got another sponsor this week. It's amazing I can't keep a sponsor. You get different ones all the time. This one just happens to work out timely for a lot of reasons that you'll see. Number one, the product itself, something pure or clearly still in demand. And then the guy promoting it has ties to both the Saints and the beloved Bears.
Mike Ditka for 1-800-COLLECT.
Hey, come on, ladies! Hey, get mad! Make believe I just insulted your mama. Or make believe I just traded you. Make believe I just called you collect without using 1-800-COLLECT.
Hey, but it's 10 cents a minute every evening with 1-800-COLLECT.
Stop, guys. I was only kidding. Stop.
1-800-COLLECT. 10 cents a minute every evening all week long.
Mike Ditka.
So there you go. 1-800-COLLECT, because as we all know, if you need to make a collect call these days, that's the service to use. And it's good to see the coach. Oh yeah, back. Yeah, former coach of both teams. I think the Bears probably look back on his tenure more fondly. He's quite the actor, really. Yikes. Anyway, thank you, Coach. Thank you, 100. Thank you, 1-800 collect for helping out. Okay. So one thing I want to talk about is before I forget, because I forget. I write these things down and then I'll look back and go, oh, I didn't talk about that. We had a couple of very weird moments in this game, both involving the Bears deep in Saints territory and the snap not getting all the way from the center to Caleb, which is odd considering they were not shotgun snaps. They were regular old under center exchanges. The first one was especially odd because Drew Dahlman. So if you haven't had the pleasure of either snapping the ball or being a quarterback to take the snap, what you do is you actually put the back of whatever your top hand is. For a right-handed quarterback, it's their right hand. Right up, you get under there, right on the guy's nuts. Hopefully he's wearing a cup. It feels a little less creepy. And then the center snaps the ball basically as hard as he can at his own groin. And your job as a quarterback is to basically stop the ball from hitting him in the groin, and you take it. And the first one, the ball didn't get, it didn't come up at all. And then Dahlman didn't let go of it. And it should have been a penalty, and it wasn't called a penalty. They just basically, Caleb fell on it, and they just said, all right, he's down. And I said, well, that's weird. That never happens. Won't see that happen again. And it did later in the game, late in the game, actually, late in the third quarter. 4th and 1, kind of a dubious time to go for it because it was a 9-point lead. And really, you're like, well, if you kick it and make it 12, now you can avoid the fluky, we need 2 scores, but only one of them needs to be a touchdown so we can kick a 60-yard field goal and beat you. And you want to you'd rather be up like 17 than 12, but you can't get there from there. But Ben Johnson, because, I like how they're like, well, he's clearly it's the Dan Campbell influence. I would think those two over-aggressive guys influence each other to do that. It's fine. I agree. I think most coaches don't go for it enough. But there are times when being aggressive is just that. It's not. And this was one of them. Like the math, Mr. Wannabe computer programmer Ben Johnson basically said, just go up 12. That'll be fine. Plus, the other thing is, look at your team. You have a hard time. Although one thing, and it wore out in this case, a lot of times when the Bears screw up, they screw up with a penalty. So if you can get one that the other team can't decline, then you can save yourself, and that's what happened. That one was more of just your traditional botched snap. It was Dahlman's fault again, and Caleb fell on it. But this time they actually did. He started to snap it, stopped, and then he snapped it again and threw everybody off, and it was a false start. And this is where the broadcast got weird because both Kevin Kugler, and if you notice, he's got like the starter Eddie Munster going with the little widow's peak. It's like, you can have the barber cut that, Kev. And Daryl Moose Johnston, I can't believe he's still doing games. Has he ever been good? He's doing it forever. He used to be the number 2 guy there. Now he's like 5, whatever it is. Whatever number you have to drop to get Saints Bears. That's what Moose Johnston is. They went on and on about, that penalty saved the Bears. What? No. The penalty is the reason that there was the fumble. We don't know. The play might have worked. To just blatantly say, well, see, the bad really saved the Bears. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got any points. It's like, maybe if they don't fuck up the snap, they actually get 7 or 6. Then you got to figure out what to do. I didn't like that. And they just went on and on and on about it. It's like, no, that's not what happened. And to the point where they brought Mike Pereira in. And Moose is like, I think if there's a penalty like that on 4th and 1, the defense should be able to just take the ball over. And Mike's like, so you're saying if there's no play when that happens, so every time there's no play on a 4th down, the defense just gets to take the ball? No, that's not going to work. I wondered because Ben Johnson is Mr. Tricky. And they had a couple of trick plays today. They had a nice kind of schemed up end around to Luther Burden, that didn't go for as many yards as you would have thought, but it looked pretty. They did something else later. I don't remember. But I wondered if there was some kind of weird trick play there. And it reminded me of a trick play that the high school that I played football at used to run that was made illegal sometime between when my brother played and when I played. So like my brother, his era of football there, they learned this trick play, which was called, probably insensitively, the Chinese puzzle. We did not learn it because the IHSA at some point changed the rule. Basically, what the Chinese puzzle was the center snapped the ball to the quarterback but took it back. So the exchange never actually happens. Just kind of like exactly like what it looked like Drew was trying to do on the first one. Snap the ball, touches the quarterback's hands, center grabs it back. Quarterback pretends there's a fumble. Literally like dives at a ball that's not there. And hopefully everybody on the defense responds, and then the center just walks into the end zone with the ball, basically pretending that he recovered a fumble that wasn't really a fumble. And it's not really the fumble Ruski, because the fumble Ruski was designed to get around that, where they would actually like put the ball on the ground and then pick it up. Although that was an illegal snap too, I think. But I said, oh, maybe they ran the Chinese puzzle. Like, no, I don't think that has been legal for 40 years in the NFL. And with replay, you wouldn't get away with it at all. So I don't think it was that. I think it was just bad snapping. So Bears survived it. But it cost them points both times. Those are both drives you should score touchdowns on, and they didn't. Caleb also had an odd game in that he did his thing where he circles around and he gets away, and he's really good at it. But he never tried to run ever. And I think what happens when he does that is he makes it really hard on himself to complete a pass like that, because the defenders don't come up to honor the threat of him just running. They stay with their guys or stay in their zone, and it makes it tougher. A couple of times he threw the ball twice to Rome, where he got it on Rome's hands, but it's basically uncatchable. He has to throw it 140 miles an hour, and Rome typically has to jump, and there's a defender there. You just feel like every once in a while, Caleb just has to run it just to get them used to, and we need to come up to get him. And then before he gets to the line, he might be able to get a pass off. But after you saw him do it a few times, I'm sitting here in this lovely palatial podcast studio. I'm like, I wouldn't bother to chase him. If I were a linebacker or a defensive back who dropped into coverage, no, I'm not coming up to get him. He can just stay there. He's going to throw it eventually, and if I leave, he's going to throw right behind me. So there's my tip. When I have my conference call with Ben Johnson, I'll tell him work on that this week. That and the snap. Those are the two things you need to work on. You need to reteach Drew Dahlman how to snap a football, and then remind Caleb that every once in a while he's got to run, even if it's not for very many yards, but run, so that when you do your Fran Tarkenton act, that you have the opportunity to pull a defensive back up and then throw it behind him to do what you really want to do. It was nice to see DJ Moore play as much as he did, considering they had to leave him in Washington overnight on Monday so his spleen wouldn't explode or whatever it was. Something on they didn't want him on the plane until something calmed down. I don't know. He's a tough son of a bitch. And that was his first catch, was just a beautiful throwing catch. I mean, that was one where DJ's head turned and boom, ball's right there, hits him in stride, great catch, and heads up the sidelines for more yards. They ran end around to him. That was a nice play, but then he just got smoked on it. You're like, maybe this week we can avoid having DJ take kidney shots, considering he probably had kidney injections to try to get him back on the field. Cole Kmet, still not good, but now he's hurt, bad back. Hope they have an orthopedic chair without we know they have orthopedic tables over there at Chuggo, so that Cole can get some rest this week. We got to see more Colston Loveland. with that, and I'm all for that. I like him. He made the big catch. They went for it on 4th and 1 at the end, knowing that if they got a first down, they could run the clock out, where they could have kicked and gone up by 15. And I'm sure they have some fancy chart that says 15 is only marginally better than 12. But with no timeouts, it's going to be really tough for the Saints to score twice anyway. So you're probably safe to just go for it and say, look, if we get this, game's over. And they went for it and they got it. Lots of penalties. Most of them legit this time. The roughing the passer call on Jaquan, though, was just terrible. It was like 3rd and 26. And he jumped in the air, hit Spencer Rattler's arm, hit the ball, and hit him in the helmet as he came down. That doesn't seem like roughing to me. He wasn't trying to hit him in the head. He didn't really hit him in the head. He hit 2 things before it because he did such a good job of actually getting the thing he was trying to hit, which was the ball. That seems like crap. The Kyler Gordon unnecessary roughness, where he hit the guy in the head. When it happened live, I thought it was like, oh, that's a terrible call. It was all forearm, and then on the replay, it was mostly helmet. Oh, I also like, now Tyreek got hurt too, and hopefully it's not bad. They need him. He's a good player. But I'd like to know the origin of his celebration. He had a really nice play on the sidelines, I think on Olave, to knock a pass away on a 3rd down. And it was funny, but the Fox didn't have a good enough angle for me to get a screen grab of it. It really showed. Basically what Tyreek did was he made the VAR rectangle, like soccer, and then gave a double thumbs down, like, this has been reviewed and you suck. It was pretty good. I have no idea. He probably has no idea what that is, but he thinks it looked cool. It did look cool, and I enjoyed it. So that was good. Speaking of the refs, so the Saints had a 3rd and 20, and I give them credit. This was a really cool play that they ran. One of the few uses of Taysom Hill, who honestly, I can't believe he's still there. This is our quarterback that we run on like a fullback. Okay, good. Is that how many times a game is that useful? 3rd and 20, where they ran him coming across the field, and then knowing that the defense would play the chains, there should be a gap there, and there was. And then that was Kamara, right? Or somebody fast was running up the sideline then, and Taysom had to just hit him, but it had to be a lateral or it had to be backwards. And I thought live it was clearly forward. I'm like, oh, they're not going to call it, but that was terrible. And then they did call it through the flag, and I thought, oh, that's great. Give the refs credit. So clearly, I don't know who that would be. The side judge, who should have been looking basically right down the line through the flag, and the other refs were like, no, no, that's fine. I wouldn't have been that upset if they hadn't overturned it, because that to me falls. I think there should be proviso for plays that look cool. If it looks cool and it's borderline, just let it go, because we need more cool plays. I would have used the look cool, so let it go exemption for the touchdown pass that Rome caught against the Commanders last week. That should have been good anyway, because that was, they called that ticky-tacky little thing on Theo Benedict. Oh, the other thing about the Theo is that both Troy and Joe, and now Kevin and the Moose. Kevin and the Moose sounds like an FM radio zoo crew. They're both like, Ben Johnson said so it's good if he doesn't even know Theo's on the field, if he doesn't notice it. Like, I kind of like him to notice him for blocking somebody once in a while. That would be good. But yeah, I get the idea. You don't want him number called, because that's bad. I would have used the looks cool exemption for that. I think you should get one a game. It's a different color flag. I don't know, maybe like a nice something spangly, just so it looks. The flag should look cool too. So anyway, the refs overrule it, and I think, wow, fine. Ben, though, immediately whips the old challenge flag out. We didn't show it, but on Blue Sky, the reporters there were very impressed by how far Ben threw the challenge flag. So, oh, by the way, while I'm doing this, I'm looking up. DeAndre Swift is doing a post-game press conference, and he's wearing a Padres hat. So he may be the new manager of the Padres, which they should work out fine timing-wise, because they won't need him until April, and given the payroll problems they're about to have, he'll be free by the end of August every year. So congratulations, DeAndre. Ben challenged it, and I was sure that because it was close, that they would just lean on the stands thing, and when the Bears were going to get screwed by the fact that the refs in their little huddle on the field overruled the guy who threw the flag. So now the burden of proof was on the Bears, not that it was illegal, not on the Saints that it wasn't illegal. But what do you know? When we can't, then they go to commercial. I just love that. Like, this is like a really important, it's maybe the last important part of the game. Because if this isn't a first down for the Saints, the game's basically over, even though there's like 6 minutes to go. Nope, got to get to commercial. We got to do another Safe Light commercial. I was surprised when they went to commercial that it wasn't just full of ICE recruitment ads, and that's why Fox had to get to it. I say that knowing that they have run on this podcast. Like, what? I talked to somebody at Spotify, and supposedly we have the right categories blocked now. So if you hear an ICE recruitment ad, let me know so that I can then again complain to the Swedes, who seem to have no idea what is going on. It's all dark there, right? No more daylight until like June. So they're constantly depressed. They don't know what's going on. Anyway, we come back from the commercial. Kellen Moore's mad. So it's like, oh, the Bears won the challenge, and they did. And that was basically the end of it. I thought even on the replay that it was pretty clear that Hill held the ball too long. Like if he'd thrown, when he first went to throw it, he would have basically had to thrown it backwards, because I wish I could remember who caught the damn thing now. Let's just say it was Kamara, just for fun. But as he held the ball, which is this is how he does when he plays quarterback, he kept getting closer and closer to the line where he had to throw it. And to hit him in stride, he ended up having to throw it forward. Even if it was only by a yard, it was forward. So Bears didn't get lucky. The rule was enforced appropriately. To me, the most annoying possession the Bears had, and they had a few, but the most annoying one was when they got the ball back with a little under 2 minutes to go in the first half, and they got it at like their own 45. So you're just a couple of plays away from letting the great Jake Moody try to kick a field goal before the half. But they had been really good in previous weeks of handling this time where you don't want to just, if you don't get it, you don't want to punt it back. But they just went pass, incomplete, and then one short of the first down. And then they had to punt it. And then the great Spencer Rattler, who apparently is only good when the other team is playing a prevent defense. 2 long passes, it's a touchdown, and that's like, oh crap, now we might actually have a game. And then they scored coming out of halftime, and then that was it. The Saints basically remembered that they suck. But the other thing that, this is just something I noticed because of the situation. So I think we kind of got a little window into why it's hard for the head coach to also call plays. I'm not saying he shouldn't do it. He should. That's a big part of why they hired him. But something that you have to deal with when you do that is, so when the Bears got the ball back at the very end, and they were just trying to run the clock out to end the game, the Saints were using their timeouts. But twice on that, the Bears had to call timeout because they weren't going to get the playoff in time. And normally I'm one of the 5 yards is not worth the timeout, but obviously clearly then it is. This is the end of the game. If you can just get a first down, you're going to win. You're up by 12 points. You shouldn't need any of your, if you need these timeouts for anything, there's a crisis that's really bad. But so it was just the way Fox was shooting it. So Fox is showing, they're cutting from it, showing Caleb in the huddle, and they're cutting to Ben on the sidelines. And after one play, the Bears had gotten a nice gain, and they're zoomed in on Ben. He's got his little laminated menu, and he's holding it up above his mouth so he can't steal the plays. And you heard a whistle. It's like, tweet, 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 tweet. Something clearly going on. And you saw Ben look up, what the hell is going on? Dude, what stupid thing did we do now? We couldn't tell because Fox wasn't showing any of that, and Kugler and the Moose weren't talking about whatever it was. But whatever it was turned out apparently not to be a big deal. But like 10 seconds went off while Ben was like trying to figure out, or do I have something more I have to deal with? Then he goes back to the laminated play sheet and finds the play he wants and he calls it. And now by the time now we can see Caleb like starting to repeat it to the huddle. And there's only like 10 seconds left on the play clock. Well, he's not going to call the play. Them get lined up right. So what it shows is sometimes when the play gets in late, it's because the guy calling the play all of a sudden has something else that he has to handle. And that is one of the problems with trying to juggle all this stuff. But I have a solution for it. I think it's a genius solution. You know, Dave Wanstead is around, right? Why don't you have Wani down there on the sidelines? And he can be the distraction coach. So it's Wani's job to pay attention to when the random whistle blows on the sideline, and then he can go, Ben, We won't give Wani a headset because we don't want that because he'll be chiming in all the time. Basically, Wani isn't going to do anything. We're not going to listen to Wani, but it's going to it'll give Ben a false sense of everything's this is handled. I can just concentrate on the play. Admittedly, my theory has or my plan has issues, but it's worth a shot. So if you see Wani over there against the Ravens next week, you'll know why. He's distraction coaching. He's going to pay attention to the stuff that happens while Ben's trying to call plays, and then in the little Fisher Price headset that they used to have Matt Nagy use, or the Matt Nagy uses with the Chiefs, where Andy Reid pretends he's the offensive coordinator. We'll get one for Wani, and then Ben won't know that it's really not hooked to anything, and he'll be like, "Well, I can focus on the play because Big Dave over here has it." We showed a graphic on the. I put the marquee post game on, but I don't listen to it because I can't because Cole Wright is all the time. But I had it on. I looked up. They had a graphic that was 3 coaches since George Halas have had 4-game winning streaks in the first year as a Bear head coach. It is quite a group that Ben Johnson has just joined. It is well, of course, Ben Johnson, who's right now in the midst of a 4-game win streak. He could go on forever, as far as we know. Matt Nagy and Wani. It's not a bad omen, right? Ben's good at this. He's going to have all kinds of. Pretty soon he'll show up on the chart with just Ditka and maybe Lovey and then Halas, and that'll be it. The idiots will have fallen off of it. You won't. Although they got to find a stat that he shares with Abe Gibran early on, so that we can get a lovely glamour shot of Abe on a national TV telecast. Can you imagine what Abe Gibran's photo looks like in 4K? Yeah, me neither. But anyway, it was a good win. For a while, I was like, they're not going to lose to the Saints, are they? In the second half, it wasn't like panic. It was more like dread. When all of a sudden, when it was 20-0, and now it's 20-14, and the Saints got the ball back. Or no, they didn't. That's right. The Bears went. It made it 2014. The Bears went down, long drive, ended up having to settle. That was the second of the aborted snaps, right? And they got bailed out, supposedly, according to Kugler and Moose, by the properly applied penalty to the illegal thing that the center had done that had fucked up the play in the first place. They kicked the field goal, and that's as close as the Saints ever got. So, whatever. Yeah, I don't know if the Bears defense is any good, but they're really good at stealing the ball so far, and that's good. There was a couple of plays though where they already obviously don't have Jalen Johnson. Thank God they have Kyler Gordon back, but they had a couple of plays where they didn't have Tyreek or Nashawn Wright. And Nashawn, not that great, but he figured if he's playing ahead of somebody else, that means he's better than the guy he's playing. Nashawn came back. Tyreek did not. It would have been nice if, like, maybe over on the radio, maybe Tom Thayer left the booth to go check on Tyreek. Doesn't that seem like a guy that he would be really concerned about, Tyreek Stevenson? Like, Jeff, I got to go. I'm going to go down and see if he's okay and just leave the broadcast. It's probably not that enamored with Tyreek that he's going to worry about it, but I hope he doesn't miss very much time. Next up for the Bears is the Baltimore Ravens, who are bad. But the problem is they're bad because they've had a lot of injuries, most impactful to them is Lamar Jackson is injured. And he's probably back next week. So you don't really get the bad Ravens that everybody else did. That's going to make it a little tougher. Where is that game? Love it when I look stuff up right here on the... It's at the Ravens. It's a noon kick. Thank God. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Every Bear game needs to be at noon. This is only the second one so far out of the 6 that they played on a Sunday at noon. I need it because it fits into my day better and fewer people see it. So if they do something really embarrassing, it's not quite as embarrassing. But there you go. So anyway, that's it. Bears win again. Running game looked very good. Oh, Kyle Monangai had a nice game. Scored his first touchdown. The blocking has improved if Kyle can actually get through the line before he gets hit. And he was, which is great. He's a tough little guy. I wish he was fast, but if he was fast, he would have been a 7th round draft pick. DeAndre Swift had an excellent game. I thought one really nice play. It was one of the Caleb doing the dipsy do circling, doing donuts in the backfield. He got a pass off at the very last second to DeAndre for a first down. That was on that last drive, right? That was nice. I'm sure Troy Aikman somewhere. It was lucky. Oh, I want to talk about that. This will be the last thing I want to talk about before we go. So I watched the Bear Commander game, and I thought, yes, I think Troy's being a little picky, but I didn't think at no point was I like, well, this needs to be a major talking point at Chicago sports radio for the week. Much to the point where Bears media brought it up to both Caleb and Ben. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for Chicago that are we that thin-skinned and red-ass that we really care if Troy is not effusive enough about Caleb? I mean, it was annoying a little bit that Jaden could fuck up and nothing was said about it. And Caleb would make a play and Troy would be like, well, if he'd have done this, it would have been better. Yeah, it's a little annoying. But I also feel like they kind of earned that status for now. Like Jaden was really good last year and took a bad Commander team to the playoffs. And Caleb was in a worse situation because he had Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron and those guys, but it didn't go well. And so he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt yet. And the fact that not only were Bear fans and then apparently the media like, why is Troy picking on him? But that they would bring it up at a press conference? Good Lord, man. That's terrible. Save that for, you want to have that kind of high level intellectual conversation. Save that for Cole Kmet's Chuggo podcast. That's a good place for that. All right. We'll be back next week after the big Commander thing. Oh, we have a podcast programming note. So because this would typically be a week for the Cub podcast with Oleg and Praz, but because there's a little thing going on called the World Series is going to come up, it seemed more sensible to have Dave Brown on this week, where we can talk about what's going to happen in the World Series and then be wrong. And then Oleg and Praz, when they come back a week later, although it'll still be during the World Series, it's more off-season-y because that's all we've really got to talk about right now with the Cubs is the off-season. So you're going to get, Dave did last week, excellent podcast where I was like, well, we know 2 guys are getting hired to be manager. Albert Pujols and with the Angels and Nick Hundley with the Giants. And now looks like the Eddie Rabbit lookalike who coaches the University of Tennessee baseball team is actually going to get that job. And Nick Hundley basically said, I don't want to do it. So Nick, a longtime listener of the pod, and he heard the podcast and called Buster and said, I can't do it. So nothing like being super confident and then immediately being proven wrong, which that's the story of my life. All right. So there'll be a baseball pod this week, and then next Sunday, come right back here for another exciting edition of the RECRAP. Thanks, everybody.
Many of us have herpes.
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
It's fitting. It's got to be done with one of the best games of all time. Just unbelievable. Got to congratulate the Dolan family.
Thank you. Sean, my podcast co-host Andy, you were his favorite player growing up.
Oh, thank you so much.
Awesome.